Okay, we're going to start a new stitch today. It's a two-colored stitch, and it's a multiple of 6 plus 3. So my average stitches I was working on was about 185. So what we're going to do is put 185 divided by 6, which is 30. So I went ahead and took 30 times 6 equals 180, and then 31 times 6, which is 186. Now, since it's a multiple of 6 plus 3, we add 3 to each, which would leave us with either 183 or 189. Now, the reason why I work out both, which are just the neighboring ones, is I want to see how many I would have to decrease or increase. It really helps keep your blanket more consistent. If your yarn was a lot thinner, then I would beef it up and add a couple stitches. It would be 4 stitches. Or if I have a thicker yarn, then I can just decrease by 2 stitches from where I am right now, having it at 183. How we're going to start is I'm going to be working on the foundation row, which is on the right side of our blanket, and it says just knit across. The yarns I'm going to be using for this stitch, for color A, it's a pretty kind of a creamy yarn. It was Talkie's Aruba. It's a trendsetter yarn called Lino, and it's a little bit thinner. So I found some of my Sidar baby bamboo, and because this has such a pretty dual color to it, I decided to hold the baby bamboo with the Lino. The foundation row is just knitting straight across on the front side. I'm going to go ahead and knit 2 together, a third of the way in, for one of my decreases. And then, after I knit about 2/3 of the way through, I'm going to do another knit 2 together. So row number 1 starts with purl 2. So I'm going to purl those 2. Now, this is where we start the portion that we're going to repeat all the way across. With yarn in back, so we pull the yarn back, we slip 5. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I go ahead and give them some room. From here, we bring the yarn forward and purl 1. And I would just make sure that you're not holding it super tight. You're going to want the yarn on back to have some give to it. And that's it. From here we repeat. So we pull the yarn back. With yarn in back, we slip 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Giving them some space there. I bring the yarn forward and I purl 1. After the last repeat in row 1 is just a purl. Row number 2 is where we start color B. And this is actually a pattern where you do 2 rows in one color, 2 rows in the next color. So you don't have to cut the strings of the first color at all here. And this whole row is knitting straight across. And it is knit straight across. You can start knitting right now, but if you want to weave in your ends, take the short end with your left hand, and every other stitch you just hold it over your back needle when you pull it through the knit stitch. For row 3 of the Quilting by 5, all we do is with color B, we're purling back. Now we're going to start on row 4. And for row 4, we go back to the original yarn. And we start by knitting 1, and then we slip 3 with yarn and back. Then we pick up the loop, and then we knit through both. Then we slip 5, then we pick up the loop and knit through the next stitch and the loop together. And we repeat that, meaning slipping 5 with yarn and back, and then we would pick up the loop and knit the next stitch along with the loop together. We end row 4 by slipping 3 with the yarn and back, and then knitting 1. For row number 5, using the same color, color A, we start by purling 1, with yarn and back. We're going to slip 3. 1, 2, 3. We bring our yarn forward, then we're going to purl 1. After this, we bring our yarn back, which this is where we start the repeat. We slip 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. We bring the yarn forward and we purl 1. We bring the yarn back and we slip 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We bring the yarn forward, making sure we're not holding it too tight, and we purl 1. And we end the row with bringing the yarn back, slipping 3, bringing the yarn forward, and purling 1. Row 6 is knitting straight across with color B. So from here, we're just knitting. For row number 7, we're going to be purling straight across. So here's the last row of the pattern, and then we repeat the 8 rows for the desired length. So right now, using color A, which is the creamy color, we knit 1. After knitting 1, we pick up the loop and then we knit it together with the next stitch. From here, what we're going to do is slip 5 with the yarn in back. From here, we pick up 1 and we knit. Then from here, we slip 5. We pick up this loop and we knit it together. Then we slip 5 again. And this is called quilting by 5.